Hi, everybody. This is Dr. Craig with AI, and I'm delighted to have Dr. Szymon with us from the University of Illinois. He's the Associate Director of Academic Technology and Learning Innovation. Good morning.
Hello, Craig. How are you doing?
Great. You have such an interesting background. Why don't you tell us about how you came to be doing what you're doing?
Well, I was always a developer at heart. And so my journey started with just writing software. That's how I got my first job by someone noticing my program. And then I got into teaching. So I've been teaching for the last 20 years or so, computer science. And in my latest kind of evolution of employment, I support faculty. I work with faculty closely. And we've been doing AI for some time. Markedly in 2018, we won a hackathon for development of a tool where we were profiling student emotions and graphing them out for instructors throughout the semester. But my focus is on engagement of students, on student success, and certainly in making the job of instructors fun and engaging to them as well.
Do you find that now, with the developments we've had with being post-COVID, with social media, with YouTube shorts and attention span being quite small, do you find that there is a real shift in the way that at higher education and regular schooling, that a change in the way that teachers need to develop engagement opportunities with learning?
Well, that's a great question. I think that academia in general goes at glacial pace, right? So if you think about how difficult it was to get instructors into online systems, even if they had a classroom course, to get them use digital grades and do what obviously was very beneficial to students, to help them, to inform them through learning management systems, to give them better feedback more timely. So I would say that the pandemic, of course, was a huge zigzag, but just as we see today, it is not a revolution, right? So we see a change in some areas, but I think that even prior to pandemic, there were some studies made, I think, by Microsoft showing that the attention of people was limited to a goldfish kind of attention span. So
Mm.
attention spans have not changed, but the need for engagement certainly. And it's not just that we have hybrid environments, but because the economy, I think, is driving many universities to think very, very hard at how to keep students engaged. So, if instructors want to have full courses, they want students to talk about their classes and get more students to sign up for their course, then yes, engagement and new technologies and new techniques, staying on top of what matters to students and what they want to do in their careers, and then getting this into the classroom. I think that's going to be very important.
Mm. So what are you doing right now with AI and instruction?
One of the areas that we've been focused on is data analytics and learning analytics.
Mm.
And what we try to do is we try to help instructors see the value in them, because in my view, learning analytics is a tool that can be useful very, very much to instructors. Sometimes we can look at learning analytics as kind of big brother approach, and the organizations kind of benefiting and maybe making wrong decisions because of them. But instructors know their courses well, they know the context, they really can understand what the numbers mean. And therefore, it can be helpful to them in detecting students who need an intervention early on, or it can be very helpful with really getting in touch with what's the level of engagement. And engagement is such a multidimensional element that it's not just attendance, right? It's not just how quickly students are turning in homework and what their grades are, but each instructor kind of defines engagement for their course. So what we do in learning analytics with AI is we are trying to use AI to make learning analytics more accessible, as in web accessibility, and also more accessible for those who do not know much about analytics. So to help instructors learn quickly what this graph means and why it's helpful to me. One of the projects is for us is to engage the existing AI systems such as Perplexity that allows us to feed a URL of data into a shared URL. And so a prepared conversation ahead of time can be linked from a specific chart. And then Perplexity knows how to look up the data for this chart. And the instructor, without even having to consider what the highs and lows on the graph mean, the instructor gets a text response. Here are the insights of this graph, and this is why it's important to you as an instructor. So this, of course, is just the start of the conversation, because the instructor then in Perplexity would have 2 or 3 follow-up questions already created for them. They can just click on, or they can start typing and getting more insights either into this particular graph or into the specific KPI, maybe that's digital exams or frequency of, we have this one graph where we show how often instructors are giving 90% or more grades each day. So, some fun data, but some data that really helps instructors to plan even their examinations better for times when there's not as much across the university.
The charts that Perplexity is accessing and analyzing, are the charts the result of regular feedback from students with their sentiments, or is it just simply assessment data?
So so first of all, the data we're sharing with Perplexity is public. It's data that otherwise is already posted. Students right now do not have interaction with this component of our work. We have other analytics that we post to students where we show which areas of the course they have not yet visited, and yet other students have visited often. So it kind of brings to mind maybe areas worth visiting. But this particular piece is specifically for instructors, and they can continue the conversation either to learn more about learning analytics in general or about that specific data piece on their own. So right now, when it comes to students at our university, we license Grammarly. So Grammarly was our way to say, for all the writing needs on campus, let's get something that does it well. And it is a vendor that's well known. It is not something just completely new. We can rely on it. So so 34,000 students, right? So University of Illinois Chicago is the largest medical school in the US. And we have Department for Dentistry, for pharmacy, for nursing, and for medicine. And with 34,000 students, every tool that we license campus-wide is a big decision. So we've decided to do Grammarly because we wanted to do something for students. And the biggest difficulties, of course, in these early days of AI was that we wanted to make sure that someone who was qualified was evaluating the output, right? So someone who knew the hallucinations, who could recognize them, was in the loop. So we were able to license instructor tools very easily through our LMS. So Anthology, Blackboard's our LMS, and their instructors were able to generate rubrics with AI, questions. They're able to generate learning modules and quizzes, and this helped instructors immediately. And because they are specialists in their area, we knew that they could take benefit from the great things in AI and then discard the ones that perhaps were not working. With students, it was a lot more nuanced step, which is why we chose Grammarly for students.
Wow, that's great. So Grammarly is a tool using Perplexity. Is it the free or the paid version of Perplexity?
Well, that's the wonderful thing about Perplexity, is that you can use it without even logging in, right? So if you were to use Perplexity at a course level, you can link it for a student, and this link will include the conversation that you prepared already. And so you kind of can create a tutor for your own class by priming the conversation with what the class is about. And then, of course, Perplexity provides sources, and you can narrow it down only to academic sources or YouTube or specifically Reddit or other areas. But academic sources alone are very helpful to us. And of course, Perplexity does what ChatGPT used to do in the free version. They no longer do, where again, you can create a conversation under your account and then say share. And then that link becomes a public link that you can then reuse. So we are not licensing Perplexity, but licensing Perplexity is a great idea. So if I can advertise that tool, I would say that Perplexity takes advantage and gives you access to Claude, GPT-4, and others. And it does something that I try to benchmark it with current GPT-4o, and Perplexity is a lot better with browsing the internet, providing sources for its answers. And you can say things like, what's the best price on a particular item, and or compare two items, and it goes and does the kind of work that otherwise might take you a long time, and all it is it turns into just a few clicks.
Wow. Love it. And have you done a YouTube video to show people the steps of doing these types of things with Perplexity?
So not specifically on Perplexity, although it was part of a number of our presentations. We did some presentations for language studies
Right.
instructors on how to use various tools, and Perplexity was part of it. But you give me a good kind of idea that I think Perplexity has stayed in the market, right? Because one of the fears is that you talk about a tool, then it disappears the next day, kind of
Mm.
by night. But Perplexity's been around, and it's been able to survive the competition with main players. So yeah, I think that would be a good idea. No, I have not done that yet, but I've used it in multiple talks.
What you've just said about platforms disappearing, I was speaking yesterday to Jim and Maury Beasley, who have been in education for a long time, and they have a similar perspective of making sure that when we're sharing and promoting and talking and doing presentations, that we focus on platforms that have been around for quite some time, not so gimmicky, have a pretty robust model. And that is the nervous thing, isn't it? Nervous that we can share these. But I do also say, when I'm doing teacher only days or doing staff meetings or doing conferences or courses, that this may be here today, but it may be gone tomorrow. So think about the concepts, think about the processes that we're doing, and think about the outcomes we're trying to get. And this is just one tool. And if teachers can be inspired to then go and explore and find other tools that may be here today, gone tomorrow, but they're getting the feedback they need today to help improve the learning outcomes of their students, that was worthy use of their time, because they're learning to learn and lead their own learning for themselves. Do you have other examples of activities that you've done that give teachers or instructors really good data and feedback?
Before I go to more examples, I do want to qualify that, especially in the US, education is under some regulation and
Mm,
compliance.
mm,
So when we go to purchase a tool, we're required to review its security, and there are certain reports that we would expect to receive. Accessibility, right? So this is a very important element. If you're going to maybe share a tool with students, it's important that screen readers work, and that's effective. So compliance around accessibility, around security,
mm.
and you're right. Cost is always an element, but just because it's free, right? We can't just green light it. So I just wanted to mention that because for many universities, there's a process to seek exceptions or at least a review. So my suggestion would be that as much as we like AI and tools like this, to run it by those special accessibility elements.
That's very
Very
good.
important. And this will keep things in the clear. It'll help the instructors not to be surprised at the end of the day. Oftentimes, if you maybe pay a little bit for a tool and then you will seek reimbursement, it'll be very helpful to have started the conversation early on. Even if you do not have, you didn't run it by the legal department, right? But you ran it maybe by accessibility at least, and the IT department is somewhat aware of that. I think it's super important because when we start adapting tools, we have to kind of realize that some of these tools provide huge advantages, but some of the vendors have to be asked to remember about what it really means to be human, and why it's not just enough to make tools for investors and get them excited so that they will pay, but in
Right.
fact, accessibility is such a focus for my office, because when we design tool with accessibility in mind from the start, we of course are addressing the needs of people that oftentimes do not raise their hand and ask for accommodations, or sometimes they don't want to be even recognized on campus as people with disabilities. But time and time again, it's shown that when technology works towards accessibility, these features hugely benefit the rest of the world. So take
Right.
captioning as an example, right? So captioning was for a very specific purpose of people who could not hear to read and be able to enjoy a video.
Mm.
But when you are at the library and there's so many people around you and you're playing a video, it's nice to mute it. It's nice to still be able to read what's going on in the video. This goes to for audiobooks. I mean, what a blessing for so many people to be able to today enjoy the culture of podcasts and audiobooks, whereas it was developed for people with disabilities. So I think this pattern of really focusing on accessibility is hugely beneficial to everyone moving forward.
I really like that. It's a really good point. Thank you for saying that.
Yeah. So you asked about other tools. I think that there is kind of focus on assignments, right? So instructors are very worried about assignments and what will happen with academic integrity around tools. I've used example of chess as being a really great case study for academics, because um, chess, or AI for chess, been out for decades, many decades. And in 1997, AI solved chess. In other words, people could not win with AI since then. And today's chess AI is so polished that there's no chance that the best, um, grandmasters can even tie with it.
Mm.
It just doesn't happen. So what I want to say about chess is that there are lessons for academics, because one of the things that chess is affected by is cheating, right? So um, cheating in chess is as old as the game, but now it has gotten to such a point where someone who doesn't even know how to play chess, right? They can play uh, one computer with a computer and one computer with a person, and then of course win that game every time. What we learned about AI and cheating is that this is not going to be resolved ever, right? So the cheating will continue to be something that we struggle with, but that unlike now, where AI is focused on recognizing um, writing of other AI and maybe flag that, right? Which can be very difficult, because it's easy for AI to start looking like human writing, especially if you go and make mistakes on purpose. So the reason why I say that is because, first of all, I would like instructors to stop focusing on looking for tools that will detect uh, detect AI writing. That chess shows us that that game is lost. That's not going to happen. However, what chess shows us is that today chess.com has some great tools for recognizing human writing. That is a lot easier to profile. That chess moves are so perfect that and then they can always go down in their level, but human moves follow certain logic and certain perceptions. So what chess.com does is it focuses on what humans would do, and then they are able to separate and then find where people are actually cheating. So I think the good news is that over time there will be tools that in a specific subject matter will be able to tell the difference, because AI just does things too perfectly. On the other hand, what AI did to chess, which is tremendous, is it made it into a huge culture, far more popular than ever before. If you consider prior to pandemic, popularity of chess, the graph just goes exponentially up. Well, of
Mm.
course, pandemic, many games became popular. But what chess does is, what AI does to chess is it creates a tutor that makes chess fun, even for the beginners, right? And it's so difficult because, when I played with my kids, when I was playing, teaching them chess, I try to lose, right? Because it's no fun for them to lose all the time. So I needed to do that, and not a lot of people are willing to do that. So for people
Mm.
who are learning a new thing, it's very important that you can downgrade the intelligence of whoever they're interacting with. And AI is so great; it doesn't mind, it loves it, in fact. So AI makes learning fun. At least the chess case study showed this to us, and made chess such a popular thing to do for so many more people than before. And yes, people at the very top of the grandmaster level of chess still exists, and you still have these heroes, and there are tournaments, between individuals that are. I mean, my son watches chess on YouTube, right? Like I used to watch soccer. So uh,
Wow.
we see that AI helped chess tremendously. I think that that's a long lesson for education, that
Mm.
if we apply just right, it will nothing but benefit education. We'll have students lined up to sign up, because if you can make computer science fun, find the joy in computing, that is how you get more people sign up to be engineers. And the same goes for music and other subject matter. So I think that chess is a good place. And I have many other lessons that come out of chess, just because AI has been around for such a long time with chess. And today we can see the results. And I would say that one of the greatest tools the instructors can apply immediately in their class is some kind of an AI tutor. So textbooks are great, and all instructors do perfect lectures all the time, right? So we know that, or we love our own lectures at least. um, and those are great resources, and then discussions are also great. But if someone has a question, right? One of the things that we found when chatbots started to be adopted in uh, mental health. So they were chatbots that were supposed to teach about mental health, and of course not diagnose, but to help to have conversations about it. It turned out that human beings are willing to tell robots things that they're not willing to tell other people. Right. Now, it could be because of the judgment element. I mean, even if you
Mm.
try to stop yourself, right, you roll your eyes unknowingly or whatever it might be. So think about the questions in your class, right? Nobody wants to ask stupid questions. And guess what? When students have a stupid question to AI, they just go for it. Mainly because AI doesn't care. It's always there. And then if it's 1 in the
Mm.
morning, they're available. So there is a site called school.ai. And school.ai it's a free site. It's built for K-12. And for that reason, it is very safe, to the degree that there's no ads on it. And it is really a contained AI. And there are, of course, protections so that you can jailbreak that AI as easily as you do ChatGPT. But the nice thing is that when you log in, it starts by basically asking, okay, what kind of tutor would you like to design? And you just specify details about your class. You can provide some additional detail of the personality you'd like to see. And then you have a link that you include in your class. And when the students hit the link, they're asked for their name. Now they can say James Bond, right? That doesn't matter. They're not logging in, but they're asked for their name. They are in the system. They ask questions, and then you, as the teacher, can look at their conversations, right?
Mm.
You, as the teacher, can see, well, what kind of questions did they have? And if they wanted to use a crazy name and you don't know who it is, that's fine. It's still data for you as the teacher to know what happened, and maybe we can adjust in the course. But a beautiful tool, again, designed for K-12, but works for high ed just fine. And I found it great at helping people write code, helping people ask just general question about, what is JavaScript? Why should I use it? Why bother with it? So that tool I would recommend, because what we learned about AI in chess, that if you make that learning fun and you can find something that levels down to their thinking, you hit, of course, what Vygotsky was talking about, the zone of proximal development, right? So
Mm.
it's where you have tasks that are not too easy, but not
Mm.
too difficult. You don't want to be bored, and you don't want to be anxious, right? You want to find the learning curve that makes it fun and move along that. And AI finds it rather easy to make that happen for students.
Fantastic. And how do you spell that? Is it SK or SCH?
School, 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 school. So like,
Okay.
let's go to school.ai.
Okay. Just
Mhm.
to wrap up, what's the best
Yeah.
way for someone to reach out to you and learn more with you?
LinkedIn for me is the most flexible way. I continue to post ideas. I post about Perplexity there, and LinkedIn happens to be quite an open space, and yet not a totally kind of private social media, right? Where you deal with millions of people that perhaps have fake accounts and so forth. So yeah, LinkedIn is a great way to reach out to me.
Great. Simon, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much, Greg.